Good morning on this day of commemoration and remembrance. It is my honor to be here. I am here today not as a military veteran, but as someone whose life has been profoundly shaped by our American armed forces. If you are someone like me, born and raised in the state of Hawaii, perhaps that is totally expected. My landscape was dominated by Pearl Harbor, Hickam Air Force Base, Kaneohe Marine Corps Station, and I spent many years working on military bases all over the Pacific Ocean, cleaning up hazardous waste and seeing how things work from the perspective of a roll-off bin and from oil drums at DRMO facilities from Yokosuka to Hunters Point. But it wasn't the military bases that shaped my life. It was the people who spent time serving our country during peacetime and during war, who taught me the meaning of love and the meaning of service, even in the face of great sacrifice. As a young child, my mentors included many of the older members of our church who taught Sunday school, entertained us at dinners, and sung in my mother's church choir. And they included my pastor, Reverend Hiro Higuchi, who had served as chaplain alongside so many of those men during World War II. Those American heroes came back to California and Hawaii, and Reverend Higuchi returned with a simple mission to visit each and every one of the families of the 71 soldiers from the 442nd Regimental Combat Team who died in Europe, to let them know how much their sacrifice meant to us and to the world. He thought that would be the end of his service to country and to God. But then he started a church in Manoa Valley on the island of Oahu, and he encouraged all of the surviving members of the 442nd to join that church. He and the other veterans at my church didn't speak much about their war experiences, and I grew up knowing only their love and their humor and their public service. But I was also growing up during the Vietnam War, and Hawaii was filled with service people coming and going to Asia. So many people returning to the US stayed in Honolulu for a while, and we would encounter many through our church and volunteer work who were not quite ready to return home. I learned how hard it can be to help and love even when people are in trouble, and there's no humor or sunshine in their world. Those experiences inspired me to work on making our environment safer for those most vulnerable in our world, including soldiers who were exposed to terrible chemicals without understanding how they would be affected in decades to come. Those experiences also taught me the value of humble labor, whether it was serving food in a shelter or cleaning house for an elderly neighbor. In the past year, I've had the chance to meet so many people in our Northern California region who have served our country in the armed forces, whether 60 years ago or 6 months ago. And even without hearing the details about their time in service, I've learned about their transition back to civilian life, the stuttering stops and starts and successes and failures at finding ways of bringing together old and new and building a life after war. But most of all, I've learned about that difficult process of reconciliation for those lost but never left behind, who live in our memories and in the work of civilian life. And that's a process and work that never really ends. The great love for country that often draws us to military service, the love of brethren and serving together, and the love and loss of time, that love is what I see most of all in you here today, and in all of those who came before. It's a love that honors and cherishes and remembers all those who have lost their lives while serving, protecting and defending our great nation. It's a love that brings us together to build communities and civic institutions. And it's a love that makes those institutions stronger. It's a love that gets passed along to the children in our lives, showing without any explanation needed that service to our families, service to our communities, and service to our nation is never a sacrifice, but is instead the greatest honor we have in our lives. We're living in a world where love is needed more than ever before to help our young boys and girls, our young men and women understand themselves, be open to the great diversity of people in our world, and grow up and learn to serve in their own way. On this Memorial Day, we need your stories and your experiences and your lessons, now more than ever, to guide us through these troubled times. Thank you for your service, and peace to our fallen service members. Thank you.